Schrader, but first I'm going to let you know who I am. This is Psychic Soup, and I am Beth Peters, and I am a full-time psychic medium and animal communicator, pet psychic, and I do, I do big galleries and all kinds of stuff, and healer and things like that. So I guess I shouldn't say healer so slightly, but that's what we're going to be talking about today is healing. But if you want to book a private appointment with me, this is what I do full-time. And I have an office in Buckhead, and the most common appointment is an hour long. That's like the best appointment that people usually book. And you can come see me face-to-face or on the phone. And my website is bethpeterspsychicmedium.com, or you can email me at beth@bethpeterspsychicmedium.com, and you can always call me or text me. I like text. That's usually easier. 770-712-4010.
Thinking of the holiday, what a nice gift to get.
Yes, I do gift certificates.
A psychic reading from Beth.
It is. It's fun, and people do buy gift certificates, so that's always fun. And what I love about it is I never remember who bought the gift certificate for who, so it's always like a present to me when somebody makes the appointment. And they're like, so and so bought me a gift certificate, and I'm like, oh, that's so exciting. That's so exciting. So it's fun.
Yes, I would love to receive a gift
a
like
gift certificate. That would be great.
Let me just put that out there. That's it's a great gift.
Let's manifest that gift certificates. I guess we need to get to Dr. Schrader here, not keep her waiting. Would you like to read her bio, Dawn?
Absolutely, and good morning. Welcome, Dr. Michelle Schrader, who began her journey with recall healing in 2007. Dr. Schrader has spent extensive time studying and training with Dr. Renaud, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Michelle has trained in German New Medicine, neuro-emotional technique, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, coaching, and imagery for health. She is certified in mind-body medicine through the Center of Mind-Body Medicine and has over 20 years experience in education. So we welcome you and look forward to delving into recall healing today.
I can't wait. Dr. Schrader was one of the ones that I met at Doctors Who Rock, and when I met her, we immediately clicked, and I was just hungry to talk to her because in my own practice, I do an energetic healing work with my clients, and I can't really explain it. I'm Reiki certified and all those things, but Reiki, let's just say the formal modalities have never really gelled with me because it's about rules, and I'm like not about rules because I feel like you can understand
no wonder
that,
why I
can't
loved you.
I know. And I'm like, there's no rules to this. Who are we to say there's a rule to how healing is done correctly? You know what I mean? That's all man-made up. So the only thing that I can honestly trust is that true emotional channel, those messages that you're getting from outside, within and inside, using your higher self and that gut feeling and just really channeling in that clear information, just like I do in readings. So with that healing work, some of the most bizarre things would come up, and I would immediately hear the reason why this person's back hurts is because they've always had, all the pressure's been on them and it's always been on their back, and they've never had a
holding
break.
It up for their family.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just simply acknowledging why they have the ailment is enough for it to just disappear like that. Spontaneous healing, just like that. So I heard Dr. Schrader speak at Doctors Who Rock. Another reason why I can't wait to get the tape, because I want to be able to hear it again. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my girl. This is my girl. So, and she's got a training coming up soon, and I want to manifest the money for that in January. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm like, yes, I want to add this to my practice. So Dr. Schrader, can you tell us exactly what recall healing is and what that is about?
Oh, that's always the question, right? What is recall healing? So the elevator speech would go something like, it really is the link between mind and body. It helps a person to understand why the root of why they have the issues, that it is our biology that takes on the secret suffering that we do in our daily life to help us to keep going. And so just like what you said about, understanding, why did this come in the first place? Asking the body, why did you come? What is this about? And then teaching ourselves to really be in touch with that internal wisdom and walking through that. It's it looks at, recall healing looks at as a foundation, the life experience of an individual. It's very specific. So it teaches very specific tools. It looks at the 18 months before the child is born, 9 months before conception, the
Wow.
conception itself, the pregnancy, the birth, the whole first year. It all goes into the energetic makeup of the baby.
Wow.
And then we look at the genealogy. What birth order number does this child line up with? What is the secret suffering from above? What are the patterns that have happened from above? Because when you look at it, when you become aware of it, it can break some of the negative patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of it in a nutshell.
Wow. Wow.
Well, you mentioned birth order. In general, is significant about the birth order?
So it's sort of like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It's really this vertical pattern that happens, and the universe is mathematically equated. It's all about quantum physics, honestly. And the energy that we carry comes from above. We're not just out of the blue. We don't just come out of nowhere. We have parents, we have grandparents, we have great grandparents. And we carry the energetic makeup of those people. And when there's big traumas, they tend to repeat as a means to be able to ultimately understand and do something about them.
So
So
go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just thinking about
no,
DNA. Go
no,
ahead.
it's totally okay.
I have
Like
so many questions. You too? You were thinking
Yes.
about DNA
I was
too?
thinking about Ancestry.com and
Yes,
how this
yes.
plays into, where we originated from,
Right.
even our geographic areas.
So one of the things
yeah,
I've
because then
noticed,
you can look at, okay, what was going on at the time? Like
right.
there's as generally immigration that has happened from Europe to here, or now other countries in Africa and all kinds of places are migrating. So what does that mean for the family? Is there abandonment? Is there strife? Is there hunger? Is there lack of money? So then in the generations to come, more will come out. I had a guy who had the same name as his grandfather and his father. He
Yes.
lined up with birth order number one, number one, number one, which it doesn't always have to be number one, because it's like a tic-tac-toe or the phone. It's like, it's not by mistake that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because it's sort of like this vertical pattern that happens. And so Anne Schutzenberger, which she is a French psychologist, she would do people's genograms and she would put down each person. And then she started noticing these patterns in threes, like, wow, 1, 2, and 3 sort of were separated. But when you looked above, they might carry mom and dad stuff, or grandma and grandpa stuff, or great grandma and grandpa stuff. And it's like an energetic imprint onto that, to that being that gets handed down. And then the next generation, the psychological suffering of the parents and grandparents becomes the biological solution in the next generation.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
So, I know science is trying to prove that behavior patterns are passed down, and they're trying to figure out the link between the DNA, right? So you're saying that it's not just DNA; it's actually the energy, the imprint, the blueprint, basically.
Yeah, I mean it's maybe stored in the DNA and all of the biological makeup of the human being. For sure, it's just stored that way. But I don't know exactly how that process happens. I'm sure it's with the neuropeptides and the neural pathways, and that it creates the senses. Because when a person goes through trauma, it's their amygdala that takes over. It's our basic living
makes
skills, like
sense,
how
yeah.
do we survive, right? And so it doesn't get stored as a memory in our prefrontal cortex. That's why most people can't remember. Oh, I can't remember, they tell you all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But when they're driving down the street and they hear a song, it can bring them instantly back to that place. Or they smell something, oh, grandma's cooking, so it happens that way. So birth order number carries the message from above.
Wow.
And so Anne Schutzenberger would see these patterns of like suicide in one row, or depression, or a certain type of cancer in another row. The 147, the 258, the 369. And once the person began to see it, because 80% is about awareness. This is what Carl Jung has said, that 80% is just about becoming aware of it.
Right.
That this has been a pattern. And then the other 20% is what you do with that. But once they saw it, it changed it for them.
You
It
know,
shifted it and it stopped the pattern.
what's interesting is, I come from a large family of alcoholics, and I wasn't even so much aware of how many alcoholics down in the line of my family. But I had made a decision as a very, very young child, and I think I'm protected from it by my angels or something. But I've never drank in my life, never.
Wow, that's powerful.
Well, and one of the reasons.
That's remarkable.
Well, I mean, I guess one of the reasons why, though, is I've finally been able to admit this, but I believe, honestly, and I hate to project this on myself, but I believe I'm an alcoholic. And I really do. Like, I can see that. And so I'm afraid if I ever take a drink that I won't be able to stop. And it's not just a worry, it's actually something I can see. Same thing with smoking. Like, I can actually see my hand on the steering wheel and I can see myself smoking. So I don't know if that's a past life experience or if that's stored energy from, my ancestors or what that is, but I've just always known not to partake in either one or I could get in trouble. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, it's like the secret suffering of our parents, okay? It produces in the children like the desire to not do something, okay? So I had an abortion, and all three of my boys are, no way am I ever having an abortion, because it was my suffering. I didn't, but it was also a program from above.
That's what I'm
That my
saying.
mother and father
Yes.
got pregnant with me outside of marriage. My mother wanted to have me, but my father didn't. So when I reached the same age as my mother was, I had an abortion at that moment, the same month, probably the same day that she found out.
Wow. So if your boys didn't even know, do they know you've had an abortion?
Now, they all do now, and I had even a talk with my other son because there was still, for me, there was shame. It was my background, and there was shame, and I had to walk through that and understand that I really was carrying out the biological suffering, the psychological suffering of my parents,
Right.
and have done a lot of work around that, because I would not be the woman that I am without these tools. These tools help me to walk through all of those things, to understand that I absolutely am supposed to be here.
Absolutely. And break that cycle. So,
Right? And that, that's what happens.
do you think if your sons did not know about that, would they have already had that stance on abortion? Or do you think they formed that stance because they knew?
They didn't know until later. They always had the drive, and it's like one pattern that hasn't been broken. Well, hopefully it has now, because I still have one son unmarried, so we're hoping that there is.
Yes.
But the other two boys, they got pregnant outside of marriage too. But they came to me because all I wanted was for us to go to my parents and say, "Oh, we're pregnant, we're going to have this baby," right? I just wanted to be backed up and supported. But it didn't happen. And then I had this other stuff. So it was like a date with destiny that gets carried out. Well, my boys, I suffered, and that was imprinted into the ovum. And so then they're born, and maybe they have more courage,
Right.
to be able to stand up. Maybe they reach the same age, and it happens. So both of the boys, when I got pregnant with them, that's when they got pregnant with their kids.
Wow.
So it's amazing, how it
patterns.
sort of manifests and continues to manifest. And we can just look at the genealogy to get insight, even if we don't have the whole picture. Like my mother is adopted. So we don't have the whole
Well,
picture.
that's what I was going to bring
yet.
up. Yes, I was going to bring that up. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. Now
This is a
we
story
have 4
now.
generations in our family. So now we can get the insight. Oh, if it's happening now,
Yeah.
it's happened for 4 to 7, 10 generations.
Well,
It's
I've heard stories on the news about twins that have been separated at birth and they didn't meet each other till they were, in their 60s, and it turned out they had the exact same behavior patterns. So
yeah,
their life
absolutely.
experience didn't dictate their behaviors. It was actually what was already programmed, like you said.
Right. Well, and it brings a good point because when a child is adopted
Hmm.
and the family loves this child, the adoptive family loves this child, but then when the child goes through things, they think that it's their fault, but it's not. It
Hmm.
has to do with that child's generations, what they real their bloodline. That's where it does matter.
Wow, that's incredible. So, did you have a question, Don? Because I was going to ask her something about that.
When you were telling your personal story, what I felt, it was like emotional trauma that was resolved in your lifetime.
Yes.
So you
Absolutely.
achieved a resolution and perhaps shifted and changed for the generations to come.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, I was really still ashamed to even talk about abortion a couple years ago. And then I was sort of convicted when there was a couple that came and they had an abortion before they got married. They were in college and they had an abortion, and this woman had parasites in her breast. And she felt that in order to really be forgiven, she had to die, and she knew that she had a girl, and she had to die to be reunited with her.
Whoa.
And so I was able to just understand there's a lot of people suffering. And then when I started looking at a lot of my clients that have had breast cancers and also prostate cancer, which I was very surprised by, more even in prostate cancer, when there's been an abortion, it's the biology piece that we
Whoa.
haven't paid attention to. And so we have to give it honor, and we give it a place. We give the baby a place in the family. We honor it. We walk through it. So once this woman understood, wow, and I was sort of being nudged, tell the story, tell the story, tell the story. And I was like, gosh, I didn't want to,
Right.
because there was still, and I recognized, oh my gosh, I've been doing this work for 8 years and
Right.
I still have shame over this. And this happened almost 30 years ago. Holy cow.
And you were meant to
Let me
talk
do
it.
my work.
Yeah.
So in order to do your work, you've got to go there. And it's hard work. I
Yeah.
never tell anybody that it's easy, but when you walk through it, it changes you.
Absolutely.
It, I'm 100 pounds less today than I was in 2007 from doing this work, and my kids are healthier, and we talk about these things. Yeah, I had an abortion, and it wasn't a proud moment for me, but I recognize that I'm carrying out unfinished business, and you guys have a beautiful look on how life is a gift. And look at all
Yes.
my grandbabies, and it's
Me
been
too.
hard and
Hmm.
challenging for them all, but it's been okay. And then Jeremy says, "Oh, I'm not doing that." So let's see what happens.
Well,
Me too.
you mentioned weight. What is the significance of weight? And do we hold on to emotions, or do we use weight to protect ourselves? Or is it
I would say yes to both
different
of
for
those.
everybody, or is it unique to everybody?
Well, the underlying conflict is sort of the same. So, like when somebody walks in and they have a certain thing, so let's say extra weight, is one of the things, and so then automatically you sort of know,
I
you
do.
sort of know. I
Help.
know, Beth. Trust me, I know. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
and two. One of the best things I learned in this work was that too much is like not enough. Okay,
Wow.
it's the same for the brain. So too much weight is the same as not enough. So I
I
began
agree
to
with that.
understand that people with not enough weight suffered as much as I
Yes.
did
Yes.
with too much weight.
Totally agree with that.
And then I actually would make fun of people that were overweight, and I was overweight too. And one of my best friends, her husband's like, "You guys, listen to you, and you like, what do you have?" And so it was like, may they be safe from my judgment. And in my life, I've learned these little tools to transform, to become nicer, to be, better, and to myself too. So I recognized that weight had to do with the tissues, the fat, it microulcerates. Okay, so there'll be little holes that fill up with hormones, and it's like it's screaming, "Hey, hey, I need connection. Please listen to me. Please pay attention to me. Please respect me." And the key word is please consider me.
Very interesting.
So all of this of where I haven't been considered or where I don't consider myself, this is what I have to begin to pay attention to.
Wow.
Where haven't I been backed up? Where am I in a fight mode? If that I got a lot of male attention. It was scary. And with the extra weight, it was a protection to keep me a little bit safer, or that I'm bigger. Because when I look in the mirror, my brain says, "Oh, Michelle, you're a little girl. You're too small to handle this. Let's pack it on to help you."
That's interesting.
Wow. And
That's very interesting.
I can relate to that.
Me too.
When I was growing up, I was small and young. I was the youngest in my class, the smallest in my class. And my parents would always say, "You can't do that because you're too little."
Yeah.
So I went out and married the biggest guy I could find.
Yes, I've seen that.
Right?
I've seen that pattern. Yes.
And I realized it's like through, demonstrating something, to speak to what our subject is today, it's like I compensated because if I couldn't be big enough to do it, then I would just marry
married a
somebody.
protector.
Right.
Right.
Well, and what's interesting is that we think we choose, but we don't really choose. We're sort of driven by these things that have happened and the perceptions that we carry, and a secret belief that if I'm too small, like this is the secret belief, I'm too small, so I absolutely have to get somebody bigger to make sure that I'm protected.
Wow.
Because it's all about biology, and it's all about staying alive from moment to moment.
Oh, yeah. And I can relate to that.
Me too. I did that on the first marriage as well. So luckily I got it right the second time.
Nice.
Well, let me ask you this real quick before we go to a break here. Do you think all of modern ailments that you have at this very moment, people that will come into my practice and stuff, do you think that they're always about things in the past and always about the generational thing? Or do you think some of it is really literally just immediate issues? Like, I have a pain in my neck because my mom's being a pain in the neck. Or how do you think that works? Is it always deeper?
Yes, it's always deeper for sure. So the body will respond at the moment of a time. It's like the time space intersection, and that occurrence happens at exactly the right moment to help you to understand all the other places where you brushed it under the carpet.
So like layers, dimensions, layers.
Right. And so you don't really get sick on the first time. Generally speaking, you might not get sick on the second time. But after a series of my mom being a pain in the neck, and I want to turn my head, and I just can't handle it, then that's when the brain is like, okay, let's take it on to help you to keep going.
Wow. And then I know we've got a break coming up, and I've got so many questions. I would like to know the process when we come back of how do we resolve that once we recognize what it is, and how do we go about recognizing it? We'll be back with Dr. Michelle Schrader. This is so exciting.
Yes,
Recall healing.
is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we're back with Dr. Michelle Schrader, and we are discussing the amazing recall healing. Jesse, is this not the most exciting thing you've heard? I know you've heard her before, but
yeah, of course. This is like round 2 for me,
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Has it helped you just hearing what she talks about? Have you been able to apply this in your life?
Actually, yeah. It's an interesting mindset to kind of be like, oh, this is kind of why this is happening for me, or this is why I can see it in somebody else, and that kind of deal. So it's very eye opening in a positive way. It's not like shocking or anything. It's actually very gentle way of like allowing yourself to be like, oh, a little bit vulnerable, and now I kind of recognize what's going on, not what's wrong with me, but what's going on.
Right. Have you noticed? Have you recognized the generational situations in your family?
Well, I haven't really thought it too far back, but I can definitely see where there could be some patterns of where some of those things can lie, like in future generations, like me and some of my cousins and that kind of deal. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So, Dr. Schrader, I was just asking you. So, we're just using the simple thing, the pain in the neck. What would be the process when you how do you discover that in someone, and then how do you relieve that in someone? I know that's a really
Well,
a basic
it's
question for a difficult thing, but
yeah, I mean, so we can start with, like who is in your life that's bothering you? And by asking the question, in learning about really asking about the question, it's really about this person's story, what they're living, what they're secretly suffering for. So I have an understanding, okay, neck, it can be about, communication, because the head communicates with the body. It's the interim. So where can't I communicate? And so then I can begin to ask the questions about that person. What's going on in your life? What's happened? How's it going? And just ask these questions. And this is what I did with this woman that had the parasites. I was like, is it true? Like, we use Byron Katie's questions of, is it true that you have to die in order to be reunited with your daughter? Is it absolutely true? What happens when you believe that thought?
what if she says
And,
yes?
and so if she says yes, really? Is it absolutely true? And you keep going and you look for the underneath of why and what happens if you change that thought around and you don't believe that anymore. How does it make you feel? And so she began to understand. And I just simply said, you're a Christian woman. I said, you believe in Jesus, that Jesus forgives you. Do you think that, I said, you have to forgive yourself. And don't you think that your daughter is up in heaven and looking down and is with you and maybe is even your guardian angel? Once she could see that, she could actually let it go. And she's doing well, like very well.
Wow.
So every person, the process in terms of what I usually will do imagery with people. It's always about changing perceptions. It's about honoring ourselves and our walk, and we're the hardest on ourselves. We
yeah.
we devalue
Absolutely.
ourselves.
Yeah.
We judge ourselves. We're like, oh, we're the worst. So it's really about learning how to love ourselves and understanding we've always been doing the best we can with the resources that we have. Walking through the anger, walking through hurt, walking through, these moments, growing our little girl selves up, growing our little boy selves up into mature beings that understand, oh, wow. Or maybe I made a choice to be here because maybe in this moment it's going to help me to have a higher spiritual path or, So neck is one thing, with communication and moral obligation and even intelligence. And you think of like people beheaded because it's real, imaginary, and symbolic
I've
and
seen
virtual
that.
for the brain.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? The brain speaks in symbolism. So
Right.
if I feel cut off from my spouse or from my mother, then maybe my neck will hurt.
Right. It's funny, I've noticed, and this is one of the ways I have used energy healing in my practice, is that, first of all, abortions and even miscarriages, I've always been able to, knock on wood, God has always allowed me to see those past children and connect them with the clients that come in for readings. They're always there. They're always part of their family. They're never, ever, ever gone. So I'm able to communicate with them and describe them and talk to them. And that's been very healing for clients when they come in when situations
It is
happen
so
like
healing.
that.
When I've asked people to do a little ceremony, name their baby, this one woman, it was so beautiful. And she did die, but she had some, I'm sorry, I got a call coming in, so
No, that's
sorry about
okay.
that. No, but she had her kids come and help her,
Aw.
and then the babies actually named themselves to
Yes.
her.
Yes, I've heard that. My name is.
Yes,
I've heard
I've
that.
heard
And so then
that.
she had
Yes.
these little
I've heard
dolls,
that.
and she
Yes.
created a symbol with that,
Right.
and it allowed her enough peace that she could transition peacefully.
Absolutely. I've heard that.
She forgave herself.
So the other thing you were mentioning, the beheading, it's interesting in my practice, sometimes past lives will come up, things that they've suffered, persecution, things like that. And it'll come through real clear. And the only reason why I will see it, it's not necessarily that I'm looking for past lives, but it becomes part of the reading as to why they have this certain pattern in their life right now, why they're afraid of something, da, 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 da. So it would be really interesting to be able to use your recall healing in conjunction with that, with the imagery that I'm able to get from past lives and things like that, to be able to add that as a component,
Fascinating. And, for us, we really just work on the here and now and the generational patterns that are here, because, in the research, it actually has talked about that people end up in the same types of situations,
Exactly.
So,
And I'm like you, I
whatever
focus,
that may be, but, in recall healing, we look at just what's going on in the here and now and what's going on in the ancestry.
That's exactly. And I always tell people, because people will come and they're like, I want a past life reading. And I'm like, I'm like you, I want to focus on the here and now, because that's what's important. But sometimes the tools are useful, as you know, to be able to see some things. But have you noticed a pattern of certain ailments mean certain things? Have you noticed that?
That's my question.
That was your question? Yes.
I just love it
Is
when
there,
we're
yeah.
in synchronicity
Yeah, me
like
too.
that.
That's why you're here. That's why she's here.
So that's awesome. When you
So,
have a partner like
yes,
that, and you can
yes.
bounce off each other, it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
For everything is specific. Everything is specific.
Okay.
So it's dependent on how that person feels and how it downloads into the body.
Well,
So,
I wanted
I'm
to
sorry?
ask you, common things that, like our listening audience perhaps suffers from, like arthritis, shingles, things of that nature. Is there a common theme with these illnesses?
So, well, like the underlying root, that each illness has an underlying root. And so when we talk with the person about, a person that has arthritis, how did you feel devalued in your life? And where in the body are you having arthritis? So if it's the hands and the work that I do, how does that, like as a mother, did I feel good enough about my mothering, or did I have to go outside the home, or what is the story for the person? So bones are about feeling devalued. So if a person has a bone issue, then there is something around that. So arthritis is that, oh man, I feel terrible about myself. And it's oftentimes because of what we've taken on from our parents. And if we weren't wanted at the time, we have to reframe it to understand we were wanted. We may not have been wanted in that time, but we were wanted in space. We were wanted by the divine. We are here. But many people don't recognize that, and so they miss it. And then they suffer in their life. And so I think that part of this work is you use the specificity of the body, my hands, of where I felt devalued, where the family has felt devalued, where they maybe lost land, or they couldn't work, or they couldn't work because whatever the circumstances.
Okay, let's take that a step further. So my mom suffers from crippling arthritis, and we already know, she's told me the story many times, that she was not wanted, and she's very aware of that. So where is the step of, she recognizes she wasn't wanted, and she also recognizes she has terrible arthritis. Where is the healing component? What do you do with that? How does somebody heal from that?
So for me, like that, okay, so now she has to see that why is she here? Okay, so she wasn't wanted, okay, maybe not by her parents, but she was wanted. She was wanted by the divine. She was wanted in space, and she has a purpose for being here. So how to help your mother to have purpose and meaning in her life. That's what's important.
Gotcha.
Okay, and you also said that there's generations of alcoholism. This is the story of mother and father. It's fire and it's water. And so this is the story. So it's all the places where I can't communicate, where there's silence, where there's disrespect.
And she
in
had
the
all that.
family.
Wow.
It affects, alcohol affects the liver, which is the wood element, which is our family.
Wow. So there is yeah, that answers our question, what we were asking. So one more question about, I've noticed in my practice that a lot of my clients, I'm able to call them out on the fact that they have autoimmune diseases before they ever tell me, because I would love to rename it autoemotional response and not autoimmune disease. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
because it's very obvious to me when someone has an autoimmune disease, even the phantom ones that they can't label. Like I've never come, positive with lupus or Crohn's, or it's just weird. I'm just got autoimmune disease. It's always
Fibromyalgia.
Yeah, fibromyalgia.
What is it?
Yes. So I'd love to rename it auto emotional response disease, but I'm able to pick that out right away, because those are usually my really, you can tell that most of those clients do suffer a degree of depression, anxiety. They have some of those psychological disorders as well that go along with that. So I'm not saying everyone with autoimmune disease has that, so please don't call me on that. I'm just saying I've noticed it as a significant pattern.
Yeah.
And they don't feel like they have a voice and things like that. They don't feel strong. Most of them don't feel strong. That's a good way to put it. So,
Right. Well, for me, it's all about boundaries when it comes down to that kind of stuff, because
Very
I
interesting.
do see, and autoimmune stands like each one is different. Each
right,
one would have an underlying conflict of something else. But
right.
when we speak of autoimmune, it does talk about not necessarily being wanted at that moment by their parents. However, their parents resolve the problem, but the child still carries this as a message. Oh, I'm not wanted. I'm not wanted. So then they don't show up in life, or whatever it may be. They devalue themselves. And so we have to get them to get to the place where they don't use themselves as a doormat, that they begin to say no when they want to say no, and they say yes when they want to say yes, and that they stop allowing the people in their life to walk all over them.
Right. That's what I've noticed. That's a
And
pattern.
that's kind of cool because we have two Facebook questions that kind of reveal that. They're both from Sandy Miller. She says, how do we do this self-love without seeming heartless or uncaring towards others? And then she
Very
says,
good
I
question.
have, the follow-up question is, I have arthritis. I wasn't wanted by my mother. How do you go about changing those feelings? It's easier said than done.
That's a good
Yeah, it does.
question.
It is true. It is easier said than done, but it's progress, not perfection, and it takes time, because you didn't get this way overnight. Typically, you're not going to get better overnight. Although sometimes when you find the story, oftentimes we see this. When you find the story, the things go away. But
I've
things,
seen that.
other things that are more layered and ongoing messages that we've carried in our life forever, then it takes some time to reframe and to it's progress, really, not perfection, and to love ourselves. And every time, even though we say, like, we do what's called the butterfly hug, and it takes like EFT principles of emotional freedom technique, and you're actually anchoring what you say into your body.
Is
And
that
so
the
so
tapping
we
solution? You're kind of incorporating tapping?
yeah, sort of like
Gotcha.
that, but
Okay.
it's so it's like a little bit of a shortcut, but you're
Yeah.
just anchoring it in. And you would say something like, even though my mom didn't want me, I love and accept myself. I forgive myself from the bottom of my heart, because I'm always doing the best I can with the resources that I have. And I forgive mom from the bottom of my heart, because she was doing the best she could with the resources that she has. And she actually chose to bring me into this world, so she did her job. The rest is up to me.
Wow.
So I choose to let this
Powerful.
go so that I can live my life to the fullest. And if you choose, for the glory of God. And a deep cleansing breath. And you're releasing that kind of energy. It's not true. You were wanted. And so you begin to reframe that. You can even, I've done imageries where I have the person see their birth, and where we do this as what we call the project purpose, where we'll reframe a person's project purpose, and see, even if they weren't wanted in, in real life, we reframe it and say no. And then we can see angels behind and ancestors welcoming this child into the world. You have a special purpose. Your mom might not like you. Your dad might not like you. You might have a lot of trauma in your life. But you know what? It's because you're going to go somewhere. You're going to do something. You're going to teach people. You're going to use this as a means to help others.
That's beautiful.
And so you're not supposed to be raised by your own biological parents.
Right.
Or it's saving your life, and you're not going to be more sexually abused by a parent.
Right. Right. It's funny. I always tell my mom, because I guess I've gotten kind of impatient with her story over and over again. And I've always said, Mom, you got to let that go. You lived with your parents 17 years. You are 77 years old, And I tease her, and she'll say, but why did God choose my parents? Why?
Wow.
I mean, why did I get there? And I'm like, Mom, they were just the train you rode in on, First of all, I know that you wouldn't have been born if they didn't want you in some capacity, whether you think they did or not. But second of all, you're here for me now. And we love you. And you've got 3 grandchildren, great grandchildren, 5 grandchildren that all love you and want you to be here. And that's why you're here, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. It hasn't helped her yet. So I need to send her to you, Dr. Schrader.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it definitely is about reframing it, right? And then asking the question, Mom, do you want to die for that?
Right, exactly. We've got to go to break, but as soon as we get back, I want to hear more about that, okay? We're with Dr. Schrader with Recall Healing. Thank you. Be right back. And we're back. Thank goodness that was a short break because I don't want to run out of time. Okay, so real quick, you said, Mom, do you want to die for this? And this is a good answer, not from my mother, but for Sandy on Facebook as well. And so I hope you're still listening to this. But so you've reframed that and you say, Mom, do you want to die for that? How would you keep going with that? Just curious.
Well, I mean, then I often just plant seeds like that. That would be what my mentor, Gilbert, I mean, he really took me under his wing and he guided me, and he would ask me questions at times where it would just make me step back and think about it. Gotcha. And so that's the thing. So where in my life have I felt devalued? Where have I believed that I should be devalued? So how can I reframe that? How can I step into the woman that I was made to be? And, several years ago, I had heard people tell me, oh, you're so beautiful and you're a great person. And I was like, yeah, right. Wah, 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 wah,
Been there,
right?
me
I didn't
too.
believe that
Me too.
at all.
Me too.
0.
Yeah.
And then I remembered in my master's degree, I had taken a class and the sister was teaching us how to pray. And she said that sometimes the divine will speak to us by different people saying the different things.
Wow.
And then it was like I got it. Oh my gosh.
You were dismissing all those divine messages.
Right.
From the divine.
And then it's sort of like a slap in the face, right? And then, I had a Christian upbringing, and my Christian faith says we're made in the image and likeness of God.
Wow.
Right now, right? Like we are right now.
Right.
That means I have divine energy right now.
Wow.
I don't have to get rid of all my sin, and God loves me just like I am right now. And it was at that moment that I began to change in a bigger way.
Gotcha.
And be able to, like, this work for me is for the glory of God, because everybody should see their own unique, beautiful, divine self. And when they're sick, they can't see it.
You're right.
And so the sickness is a gift to allow them to come and see their inner beauty, to embrace their inner beauty.
So I have a hard question for you. When my mom I'm just using my mom as an example just because it might help the audience, but she got a case of skin cancer, a carcinoma. And, I was working with her a lot. Obviously, daughter and mom probably don't work best together, but, she immediately went to me and said, I don't want to hear any of your woo-woo SHIT. She said, if you tell me I caused this cancer, I'm going to lock you out of the house. Of course, she lives down the street.
Wow.
So she was not open to that. Do you think every underlying ailment, disease, dis-ease, as people call it, is an emotional response? Every single thing?
Every single thing
Wow.
has an emotional component. It is the underlying root of what we look for.
Wow.
every single time. So skin cancer, you want to look at where it is, but
Right.
typically we would talk about separation because skin is our contact with someone.
Wow.
So, and then where is it, and how do, we use acupuncture points also to give us more insight, and so it is very specific. And so then I can ask a specific question. One woman, she came in, she had a sore on like the back of her calf.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells me the story about how her father hadn't talked to her. Just, I hadn't even worked with her at all. But her first opening story was her father hadn't seen her in over 20 years. She wasn't even sure if he was alive. And the story was that her mother had been sick. They had a nurse in the home. The father sent her mother to go live with the sister.
Yes.
And then the daughter, questioned the father, hey, why is the nurse still here if mom's not? And so he cut her off.
Wow.
And she couldn't, she never saw him again. So I said, so, okay, well, that's crazy. Let's work on that. And, what are you here for? What do you want to work on? Oh, I have this sore on the back of my calf that's really big and it's been there for like 6 months and I can't get rid of it. So I said, oh, okay, well, let me go get, I had an acupuncture chart and we have little information about each of these points.
Oh, wow.
Several acupuncturists have sort of put this information. Very specific. It said, the first thing said, a memory of someone having an affair with a servant.
Oh my goodness. That is crazy. Jess, I just saw
And
your
she's
eyes
like,
pop
both
open.
of us? And see, I still get surprised. And it was still early on. And I was like, and so then we did some work around letting go.
Right.
And that she was never validated, but that actually validated, that was the truth, that her dad was having this affair and it wasn't her fault and she could forgive him. He didn't know how to deal with it. And so she just did this whole thing. The next day, it had already closed up, and within a couple of days, it was gone.
That's amazing.
Wow, what a
That's
story.
amazing.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, we
incredible.
have lots of those kinds of stories.
That's
It's
so
so
much
fun
fun.
because it totally works when you find the story like that.
Right. So you do trainings and you teach people this technique. Is this open? Is this open for everybody? Like our person that's on Facebook. Is this training open for not just practitioners like me, but everyone? When you do a training,
It is. It's open for everyone. And if you wanted to become a practitioner, you would just keep going with the trainings. But you can take the trainings out of order. You can. I feel like it's life tools, and that every person, it doesn't matter if you're a practitioner, you're still a person. So, and we speak in everyday terms because it's not about, it's about the science. There is science in it, and I'll explain the science, but it's really about how to incorporate these principles into your life to be able to find healing. My family, oh my gosh, hugely different.
wow.
I'm hugely different.
Wow.
It's amazing. No pun intended.
No, yes, I know.
So we're giving a training next year. On recallhealingusa.com. There's a list of all the trainings that we're doing. I'll be on the East Coast in January doing a training in Florida and then in Georgia at Right Way Health and Wellness. And so I love training. I love teaching people these tools because it does change lives. It is transformational.
So the training you're having in January in Georgia at the Right Way Health and Wellness, it's being sponsored by Jennifer Gramuth, right?
Yes.
You can call 706-657 or 7879 to sign up for that, correct?
Yes.
And that is January 25th through 27th, and that is Recall Healing Training Level 1. And that's the one I'm trying to manifest right now that I want to go to.
I hope
Yeah,
you
it
do.
would
my
be
goal.
so great.
And I think I heard Kelly Gallagher from Dr. Rock or from Jam and Planet. She said she was coming to that
Very
one.
cool.
So I'm excited. I'd love to take that one with her. So.
Yeah, it will be so. I think we'll have a really good turnout, a really good time. And, it's recall healing. It's not a panacea, but what it does is it adds to your toolbox and it gives you tools and it helps you have power where you feel powerless.
Wow.
That's what I love about it.
Right.
And so teaching these tools in bigger settings and on workshops, it's like having 5 sessions in one weekend, and you get a lot out of it. And you go home with tools to be able to work right away. And so you can apply these to your everyday life right away.
That's incredible. I want to apply it to my practice for sure. But you said you had a goal for this to be in every practice, didn't you?
I
In
do.
modern medicine, everything.
I would love that recall healing is just part of every person's health and wellness. That you go in, the doctor says, "Oh, you have thyroid issues? Okay, well, this is what you need to do also." Because, so many people will put off the emotional stuff and they
Right.
keep working. They do supplements, they do, exercise and
Medicine. Yeah.
meditation and all of that. But if you don't know why it came in the first place, it's not going to go away. So you
Correct.
have to give it honor, and you have to address it specifically so that it can go away. It's like you turn off the switch of that. You understand. You're dealing with it. You're not secretly suffering. You're at peace about it. Cool. We can let it go.
That's awesome. Have you found that doctors are becoming more and more open to the emotional component of illnesses? And
Yes and no. On some rounds for sure, but there still is the stigma. Like, we've been very enculturated across every single culture to not talk about our stuff,
which is
to
why you
keep
were at
it
Doctors Who Rock.
right,
Yes, yes.
and to keep it quiet, and don't talk about our dirty laundry, and really is all of this secret suffering of our family that really makes us so sick. And the more that we can talk about it, the more that we can bring it out, it's healing. It's very healing.
It's amazing. If you had one wish for everyone, our audience listening today, because I'm manifesting millions of listeners, what would be your send away? What would be the one thing you'd want to say to people out there about this recall healing and emotional response and what's going on in their bodies?
Well, I would say, pay attention to what your body is saying, and learn to love and forgive yourself.
Powerful.
See your purpose.
See your
that
purpose.
that every person has purpose, and it's our job to find it. But we have little things that we love or we're interested in that make us unique. Manifest those, bring them to the forefront, capitalize on that.
So, baby steps to those audience listeners, and I know they're out there because I can feel them psychically, that say, I don't have anything I love about myself. How do you do that? I can't find a thing. What is the baby steps? Where do they go? How do they try? What's the first thing they can do?
Act as if, act as if, act as if. Practice it. Okay, we didn't get this way overnight. It takes time to reprogram our brain. So the more that you speak it, the more that you'll believe it. It took a long time for me to not look in the mirror and say, "You're a fat pig. You're so disgusting. I hate everything about you." And I used to say that to myself daily.
Wow.
But I never say those kinds of things to
No.
myself anymore.
No, don't speak that.
Once in a while I'll get down on myself,
Right.
because that's, it's part of who we are. So then we have to reframe, bring ourselves back into the moment, love myself. I'm doing the best I can with the resources that I have. And just say that to yourself. I'm doing the best I can with the resources that I have.
Yes, I'm doing the best I can
with the resources I have.
I love that.
And then you can I'm bettering my best every day.
I'm bettering my best every day. Okay, we're going to leave everyone with that because we've come to an end of our show. It's been amazing having you on. I've learned so much in this interview. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For people that want to get a hold of you one more time, what is your website?
So recallhealingusa.com.
Okay.
And also soultreetransformations.com.
Soul Tree Transformations. I found you
right.
on there.
A lot of my personal stuff is on the Soul Tree,
Okay.
but we're really incorporating all of it together with Recall Healing USA. It is under that. So
Awesome. It's beautiful. And I just want to tell to all the listeners out there that you guys are all loved. And I mean, absolutely, truly loved. And I feel that and I know that. And for some people, it may take some time to find that. But I know with every ounce and in my body that you are loved. And I'm just so
Yeah.
grateful to have this experience. I love you, Dawn.
Oh,
I love you,
yes.
Jesse.
Yes.
I love you.
I
I love you,
love
Dr.
you.
Schrader. And it's been so
Thank you
great
so much
talking
for
to
what you guys are doing, and for,
You're
you know, the
welcome.
honor of being with you today,
You're
and
welcome.
to be able to bring recall healing to other people.
Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. You're a blessing. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening, and we'll see you later. Thank you,
All right.
Okay.
guys. This is United
Bye.
Intentions signing off.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.